Hello bearded bee people, welcome back to the B&K's Bees channel for another episode of Random Inspection Friday. We are going to get into this hive and do what we've been doing over the last few weeks, and that is check the stores, check to make sure they have room for brood. This Indian summer stuff is kind of prolonging our fall, and hopefully the brood reflects that. This is angry bee season, so you might see me in a veil here before too long. Well, I wish they wouldn't have expended any of that energy creating wax. As you can see through the inner cover there, they've got a bunch of burrcomb, and it doesn't even look like they've filled it, which in my opinion is wasted energy. Sometimes when they fill that entire area up with burrcomb that's filled with honey, it's a good thing. It's just an insurance policy, and I'll put sugar bricks around it. But when they fill it up and don't really fill it with much, it's just kind of something that I have to get rid of. Although there is some nectar or syrup in that. Alright, this does not look as good as the last few weeks have. I expected there to be a lot more bees in here. Alright, we've got nectar on the outer frame, so that's good. I'm still not, to the point where I'm unwilling to combine hives that need it, so that's definitely a possibility. Alright, so the next one is more syrup nectar, backside as well. And that one's a very heavy frame. Honey, honey, honey. Nectar on the other side. It's getting capped in the top corner there. I'll show you that. And neat, you can see a work in progress up there. Hope you can see that. Got to work quickly here because these guys' food and burrcomb open to the robbers. It's October 4th, I think. So robbing season is fully underway. Alright, so there's a little bit of brood. The nectar has invaded the brood area. Okay. You can see the open cells are nice and shiny with nectar, as you'd expect to see in early October. Brood area gets smaller and smaller as the food stores creep in and start to fill more and more of the cells. That's a good thing, although once again that Indian summer should hopefully show us a considerable amount of brood. This frame here is a similar story. There's a lot of bee bread interspersed with open cells of nectar. A few brood cells, but not very much. Here's a good sign that they are aware of the fact that they still need brood. These open cells here have eggs and very, very young larvae in them. Not a huge patch of brood, but once again, you wouldn't necessarily expect to see a huge patch at this time of year. Okay, I don't know if you guys remember when I said that I had replaced all of the bare foundation with everything that I had that was drawn. Some of those drawn frames were mediums, and that's what happens on a medium in a deep box. They draw it out nicely on the bottom. It's usually not a problem because the frames right next to it are deep, so they draw it right in line with all the other combs. And this one has a considerable amount of worker brood there. Up above it on the actual frame is some more brood. And the same situation on the other side. So that's good. It's heavy as heck too, so as they all should be by now. And so far they all have been. I got to feeding these ones a little later than the rest of the yard. So I'm happy to see that they've done what they've done with the food that they've had over the last couple weeks. Oh, and there's our queen. Hopefully you can see her. She's dark, like most of our queens now. She's a Mary Ellen, like most of our queens now. Alright, so the other side, lots and lots of honey. You can see some bee bread in there. Some brood. The open cells have eggs and young larvae. So this colony is proving to be a little bit better of a story than I expected when I first popped the lid. It wasn't overflowing with bees, but there are certainly bees on every frame. The brood nest is probably a little bit larger than average for right now, so that's good. And we've surpassed the brood nest now. So this is honey completely. You can see where this was a brood nest, the little semicircle there, but they have filled it all up with syrup. So I'm not going to go any further because the other frames look to be honey as well, and it would be very, very unlikely to find any brood past such a solid honey wall at this time of year. So I'm going to close them back up. And I think this one looks good as far as winter goes. I'm going to refill their feeder one more time just to kind of help out on the slightly lighter outer frames. But it's definitely not an emergency feeding situation. Boy, they're roaring like they'd want me to shut their hive up, and I'm going to do just that. I didn't remove the burr comb because they're obviously trying to store stuff there as well, and it's unlikely that I will bust into this hive to a great extent before the end of fall. And when I do, I will line around that burr comb, whatever amount of burr comb still has syrup or honey in it, I will line around it with the sugar bricks that I talk about often in the wintering videos. But the more filled areas of capped or otherwise condensed sugar, that's just the less I have to put up there. And with all of the sugar we've bought this fall and all that we still need to buy before winter, any help I can get as far as that goes is well appreciated. So hopefully your colonies look good as well. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, click like. If you haven't already, click subscribe. You'll get notified for other videos as the year goes on and in future years. Get out and have some fun with your bees before winter.